stay tuned because for the next 60 minutes, Motorsports Unlimited is on the air. Hi, I'm Jerry Bryant, and these are the lovely ladies of motorsports. And all this hour, we're going to have 60 minutes of action-packed excitement. All kinds of exciting things will happen. And we got the famous Bill Wildt, and we got all kinds of other good stuff that's happening all this hour. Motorsports Unlimited, 60 minutes of non-stop action. So let's go to the studio right now, huh?
Thanks, Jerry, and hi, everybody. Welcome to the studio headquarters of Chicagoland's most watched, most talked about Access television series. I'm Samantha Bentley, and this is the 1032nd edition of Motorsports Unlimited. Well, just about the time we figured that once again, Chicago isn't going to get a real winter, the cold and snow hit. First, at the beginning of February 2007, it got cold, real cold. Second, in the middle of February, snow, real snow. Bill got a report that for the first time in a couple of decades, the chain of lakes was frozen solid. He decided to load up his snowmobile and check it out for himself. Let's join him just outside Antioch, Illinois, in the snowmobile-friendly parking lot of a place on Route 173 called Captain Kurt's.
Well, surprise, surprise, it looks like I'm going to get a little bit more snowmobiling in. This is the winter of 2006/2007. This is February 2007 right now. As a matter of fact, as I'm speaking to you, they are qualifying for the Daytona 500. The NASCAR guys are qualifying for the Daytona 500 right now. And by the way, to my friends who didn't think there'd be enough snow to go, and I'm not going to mention any names, Don and Bruce and John, I'm not going to mention your names, but to those who didn't think there'd be enough snow, there are snowmobiles everywhere, and the snow is really fast, and I'm going to have some fun today. So to heck with you guys. In any event, before I get started, though, I want to talk about something that I stumbled across something that I think is just absolutely exceptional. Now, let me first preface this by saying, as you get older, things change. One of the things that when you do things like snowmobiling and boating and things like that is that you have to be able to trailer. And certainly those who have been watching Motorsports Unlimited for any length of time know that we trailer all over the place, whether it's snowmobiles or boats or what have you. Problem is, as you get older, you have to hook up the trailer to the car. Of course, you know that those who have been watching for any length of time know that when my Chris was alive, you see her at the end of the program every time. Of course, I had somebody that could guide me back to the trailer and all that, and somebody that I could holler at when I missed it. But now I'm 63 years old and I'm by myself, and hooking up the trailers can be sort of a pain. The boat in the summer, because the boat is so heavy, you really can't move it around much. When you back up, you got to be kind of right on the money because it's really too heavy to move. And the snowmobile trailer, you'd think that's really light. You can move that around without any problem. The problem is when you're going to go snowmobiling, the fact of the matter is the snowmobile trailer is usually going to be stuck in the snow and the ice, so you can't move it either. So you have to be right on the money. On top of that, I drive a van, and as you can see, the back windows on the van are really quite high, so there's no way that you can see the trailer ball and where you're backing up. It's always an ordeal. For those that don't back up trailers, for those that don't trailer things, hooking up can be a real pain, and essentially it goes something like this. You back up a couple feet, you jump out of the vehicle, go back and look and see where you are, then you back up a couple more feet and back up a couple more. It becomes a little bit of a challenge to see if you can do it without actually having to pull forward, which means you may be a dozen times in and out of the vehicle to see where you're at when you're backing up so that you can hook the tongue up to the ball. Well, guess what? This little thing here, and I'm on snow, folks. Believe me, there's plenty of snow, guys. I don't want to mention any names, Bruce and Don and John. I don't want to mention any, but plenty of snow. This is a little television camera. This is one of the coolest things that I've purchased in quite some time. This is actually a color television camera, and inside the vehicle I have a little color LCD monitor, and I'm sure, well, you probably can't see it that well. I'll take a shot afterwards, but the camera is actually pointed down here towards the ball, towards the trailer hitch ball and the tongue of the trailer. So what you do, it's hooked up to the backup lights on the vehicle. So what you do is you put it in reverse. When you put it in reverse, the television camera goes on, the monitor goes on, And the way I've got it set is that the top of the trailer hitch ball is just at the bottom of the monitor, so I can back right up to the trailer, put the ball right underneath the tongue of the trailer, first time, every time. It really works great. It's really super. In addition to that, well, before I go any further on that, a little complication. Most of the time I go snowmobiling at night, and for that matter, I do a lot of boating at night. And after I got this all set up, and I was so happy about it, I practiced with it several times, and I backed up, and I was so delighted. And then the first time I went to go snowmobiling with it, it was at night, and it was too dark, so I couldn't see it. So I added some auxiliary underneath. You can't see it from this shot, but again, I'll get a shot afterwards. But I found just a great set of auxiliary backup lights that go bolt right onto the 2-inch bar. This is a hidden hitch. There's a 2-inch main support bar that goes across the back of the van. These things are fitted to go onto that 2-inch square bar. Really works great. The auxiliary lights, after I put them on, I was able to back up, and hopefully if I know how to do it, I'm showing you those pictures right now. I was able to back right up in the dark, middle of the night, back right up, and again, first time, every time, put the trailer hitch ball right underneath the tongue. So this is really pretty cool. Now I discovered something else though as I started working with this thing. This camera is wireless. Now there is a wire that goes to it, but it's a power wire. 12 volts of power is what it needs. But it's wireless as far as going to the monitor. There's no wire going to the monitor, which is kind of cute because when I've got the monitor on and I pull into Burger King, all of a sudden their security camera comes on my monitor. So that's a little confusing, but whatever. But it's pretty cool. But what I do find interesting is I mounted this on Velcro. This I can just peel right off of here and stick it anyplace else. And the reason I did this after I realized the value of this thing, this isn't really important with the snowmobile trailer, but with the boat is real long. The van is like 20 feet long. The boat is another, well, with the tongue of the trailer and everything, is another 25 feet long or so. That's really long, and where I have to park, it is really difficult to see the back of the boat when I'm backing it in. Well, this has turned out to be a real godsend. I just take it from here. I have a little piece of Velcro on the rear fender of the boat trailer, and I stick it on the boat trailer and plug it into the boat wiring. And then in the monitor, what I'm seeing is the back of the boat and where it is in relationship to the fence that I have to get near. Really, really handy. I thought this was really cool. And it's so inexpensive, I can't tell you. In fact, I was sort of watching, I had been thinking this was a pretty good idea for some time, and I get Auto Week, and I've been watching in Auto Week, and it was a couple $100, and that's a little bit more than I could really go for. And I've been watching it for about a year or so, and I walked into one of the local auto parts stores, and lo and behold, the exact same brand, same everything, and they had them on sale for $90. I don't know how you can do that. A color television camera, color monitor, wireless monitor, and it works great. So it's one of the best $90 I ever spent. It has really saved me. Believe me, at 63 years old, I don't like the idea of jumping in and out of the vehicle every 2 feet when I'm backing up trying to hook up the trailer. This makes it easy. It's really quite a revelation. Just wanted to share it with you. It doesn't make a difference if you're a boater or a snowmobiler or anybody that has to hook up a trailer. This really works.
I guess I never thought about what an ordeal it might be to hook up a trailer. The guys always take care of that part. But the television camera seems like a great idea. Hi, I'm Patty Borowitz. Now let's get to the part that provoked Bill to go through all the trouble of hooking up his trailer and driving to the chain. Is the chain frozen hard enough? And is there enough snow to snowmobile?
can tell by his voice. He loves to snowmobile, and there have been very few opportunities during the past couple of decades. The chain looks frozen solid, and there is plenty of snow on top of the ice. Hi, I'm Janine Lauschat, and I don't pretend to know why guys get so excited about going out in the cold and flying across a frozen lake on a snowmobile, but I know they do. One day I'll have to try it. Now to review. Bill left his van and trailer in the parking lot of a place called Captain Kurt's and used their access to get to the chain. He turned right and headed towards Lake Marie initially, then made a big left turn and headed for the tunnel under Route 173 and onto Channel Lake. By the way, we've taken you on this same path before, but on a boat. Let's take a look.
Now, Chuck, if you would, pan your shot around to the front here. I just felt under the ground there. Oh. Go ahead, Michelle.
I just want to say this is the bridge that we had to duck our heads down because it goes really low. Yes, it does. It goes really low.
It's really low, so you've got to really make sure you put your head down here, folks. This is.
I'm telling you, we have to rough it out. We have to duck.
No, I'm going to tell you something.
Okay.
There are the larger cabin cruisers can't get through here.
Yeah.
But the other entrance on the other side, while it's full of a lot of seaweed, it has about a 6-inch higher.
Sometimes.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
So-
watch the log, Bill.
I see it. We're okay. We got it.
No, I was gonna say, sometimes you see under bridges where you see these semis that get like kind of stuck under there. So that would happen with a boat.
Well, that does happen. I want you, when you go under here, I want you to watch up, look up as
But
you
they
go
don't have
under.
a feet on here.
No, you look up, and I want because it changes all the time with the height of the water.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Now watch as you go under and take a look at all the scrape marks underneath there, and tell me if boats haven't hit this thing before.
Oh my goodness, this is close. You can touch touching the top.
Oh, easily. A lot of boats cannot get under here. This you have to really watch your height there. Now they went on the other side of us here. I don't know if the microphone continues to work through the concrete wall. This will be a little bit of a test. And
Hey, there's a boat wash. $2.
No, not
Bill.
$2. It's $2 a foot. Read the small print.
Okay.
$2
well,
a
that's
foot.
cool. Then I got a boat wash.
Well, in fact, a lot of people do go out. There's an area out here on
car
Channel
wash.
Lake. There's an area here on Channel Lake that's got a sandbar in it that people go out and they wash their boats standing on the water. It looks like they're standing on the water.
cool.
It's very, very cool. Now, Chuck, if you would, swing your camera shot again out to the front so we can show the folks where we're going. This is Channel Lake.
Now that looks more like it to me. Sun, warm, water, boats. Still, there must be something to this snowmobile stuff. Bill says it's an absolute joy to travel across the snow-covered landscape on a fine machine. In his case, a 1983 Polaris Indy 600. That's a high-performance 3-cylinder 2-stroke sled with fully independent suspension. Let's rejoin him on Channel Lake as he reminisces about the snowmobile drag racing they used to have at Waz's when the chain froze over every year.
And I'll see if I can show you something, at least I'll get close to it, that we used to cover. It's not part of the landscape anymore. You can see what I mean in a minute. Directly ahead, I don't know if you can see that striped tent, but this used to be Waz's. Paul Wazak's place, Waz's, and they did the snowmobile drag racing out here for many, many years. Waz sold the place some time ago, but I can still see it. It looks like it's still snowmobile friendly. There's snowmobiles everywhere, and apparently they've got some kind of a concession there. Pretty cool. Once again, this is Channel Lake.
Before Bill gets too far away from the place that used to be Waz's, let's take just a moment to look back in time when the chain froze over every year and Waz's held snowmobile drag racing every Sunday.
does look cool, and Bill has said many times, snowmobiles are arguably the fastest accelerating production vehicles in the world. Many in that short run will reach 100 miles per hour. He wishes they still had the races because he would like to see what his triple would do. Perhaps he'll call Woz and see if he still has his timing equipment, and if the chain stays frozen. We'll see. Right now, let's rejoin him as he returns to base.
Boy, it's a shame I can't go further on this thing, but when you're by yourself, you have to be really conscious of the fact that it's cold out, you could break down, get frostbitten down here, so I try to keep sort of within sight of civilization.
What Bill has done is leave Captain Kurtz, jump out onto the chain, first turning towards Lake Marie, then circling back under Route 173 and onto Channel Lake to revisit what used to be Woz's. Then, after reminiscing in his mind about the snowmobile drag racing that used to occur there, he backtracked under 173 and returned to Captain Kurtz's parking lot. Now the question is, will he be loading up to go home?
That's right. He's there by himself and really can't travel very far from his van. He hasn't had the sled for very long and doesn't know if it's reliable. If he gets too far away from his van and the sled breaks down, well, he is a heart patient and the consequences could be terrible. He found out what he wanted to know. The chain is frozen and there is enough snow to snowmobile. Time to go home.
Well, I just can't resist it. It's getting dark. I should go home. Just want to do one final little pass here. Looks like everybody else is getting ready to go. This is so cool. pace getting across Channel Lake. You've already seen this area a few minutes ago. I'm on the way to the South Channel connecting Channel Lake and Lake Marie.
breaks down, there is no way you can walk back. It's too far. Turn around. To take a kind of circular route around where I have my van and trailer parked, so I have a decent chance of being able to walk back if my sled breaks. It'd be quite a hike, but I think I could do it. Idea, Bill. Just up ahead about half a mile and to the left, and you're back at the entrance of Captain Kurt's. is getting farther and farther away. You'd think he'd know better.
Consists of 9 small lakes connected by picturesque channels like this one. What Bill did was leave Captain Kurtz and turn left, rode under Route 173, blasted across Channel Lake, entered the South Channel to Lake Marie, traveled through the channel, and when he got to Lake Marie, turned left and headed back to Captain Kurtz by blasting across Lake Marie. As he got close, he thought better of it. He was having too much fun. He turned around and headed back to the South Channel and retraced his steps in the opposite direction. What he would really like to do is head off to the other lakes and explore those channels. Let's see what he decides as we rejoin him, entering the south end of Channel Lake.
That's it, Bill. Home is to the right under 173. Then turn right at Captain Kurtz. Time to go home. You see, everybody else is gone. It's time to go home. That's it, Bill. Don't take any more chances. You've had enough for one day. Now, while he's on his way home, we want to take a moment to show you an interview we taped with George Barris last summer at the annual Regional Streeter Car Show in Crown Point, Indiana. We only had room for a couple of minutes of it on that show, and we promised to bring it to you in its entirety in a later program. Today's the day. It'll be a nice change of pace from the snow and ice. Enjoy.
I'm not even looking, but I bet he's got a big smile on his face because I've been watching him work for the past 20 minutes or so. This, of course, is the incomparable George Barris. George Barris is one of the people that started hot rodding back in, I keep wanting to say mid-50s, but maybe it was early 50s.
That was actually in the early 40s.
No.
Yeah, I'm the only guy that's 39 years old that started customizing in the 40. In fact, I got my first $10 to put a set of cat-eye taillights in a 32 Ford in 1940. And I thought I was going to become rich making a $10 bill for that.
Boy, you're older than I thought you were. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that, because I think of you as 1953, 4, and 5. I remember, and we've talked about this on the show before, we remember putting the kitchen drawer knobs
Right,
and the grills
yeah,
and all.
right.
But apparently, you were going strong before that.
Yeah, in fact, the 40s. The 50s was really pioneering movies because the movies came in with Hot Rod Gang, Hot Rod Gal, Hot Rod Hullabaloo, and of course James Dean with Rebel Without a Cause in 1955.
And TV Tommy Ivo.
Yeah, and Tommy Ivo with the 4-engine car. So we've had a lot of that in the 50s was pioneering the television industry, actually the movie industry. The television came in 1960 when we did the very first Beverly Hillbillies 1960. Then come in Munsters in 64, Batman in 66.
That's right, the Munster car was yours too, wasn't it, now that I think of it? That was a gorgeous piece of work.
And the Green Hornet and the Monkey Mobile and the Flintstones, all of that was in the 60s.
Not to mention the Batmobile.
And the Batmobile, of course, was the screamer of all of them.
All his work. You've got quite a legacy when you look back. And when I understand, I was told earlier in the show that George Barris went to one of the local cruise nights around here, either last night or the night before, and everybody was so shocked that you were there. And the only thought I came to is, I wonder what you were thinking, being one of the originators of this, of how far it's come.
Well, it was such
I
a
hope
thrill.
you were proud.
It was such a thrill, and I was very proud to be a part. Of course, just to be asked to come to this show is one thing, but cruising over there at the Target was like when we cruise at our Bob's Drive-In, where Jay Leno will come in and cruise with us. And to give you an idea, it was such a great thrill because a lot of people looked at me and they were, that's George Barris, and he's here. I said, I'd love to be here. I mean, you don't understand. It's great because we're people, and we're car people. We're car culture people, and we're all the same because as far as I'm concerned, I don't care what kind of a car you got. We're car culture. We're family, and that makes it important.
It is a wonderful bridge. It knows no gender. It knows no ethnic group. It knows no nationality. The cars, the whole motorsport thing is just a wonderful bridge between people. And by the way, folks, there's no way I'm going to stop George Barris, so we're going to be going out on this one. I want to talk to you a little bit more of all the work that you've done. And I want to take the Batmobile out of it because that probably got you the most attention.
Yes.
Of all the work you did, what was your personal favorite? And it might have been something very insignificant that you thought was pretty original and creative. What did you like?
Well, that's so hard because I always get asked by that. But if you had a family of 10 children, which one would you like the best?
No, you like them all the same.
But let's use it as an example. One of the hardest cars was when I did the Knight Rider car and I made it into a pursuit car. That means it had to have all the computers and hydraulics that if this car was driving along, gets to 150 miles an hour, it's going to fly. And we had to do it on one shot. That means my diaplane, the front end come out, the back end come out, the rockets would come out, and we would be able to fly. We'd go into the blue screen and we would be flying. Now we're in the air and we're starting to come down. We got to be like aircraft. That means we got to best stop in the air. And how they do in the jets, when you come down, my top came up, my rear fenders came out, and that gave me my
air
stopping.
brakes, yes.
So that was the hardest. That was the fun thing I did, is that we were able to create something on camera to make that car become a flying star with our ingenuity and my ingenuity that we have with the people.
Okay, I want to get back to that in a second because I have a follow-up question on it, but I want to mention one other thing. We are standing in an area right now here that's a special corral. Many of the cars here were sort of tributes to George Barris's work. You don't have to roll the camera around, Chuck. I'll get some shots afterwards, but a lot of these were done with the George Barris influence.
Actually, there was a 40 Merc over there. We call it the Matranga Merc because we did that for Matranga in the 50s. And it was one of the very first ones that was done. He duplicated that followed by photos. Not only does he have me sign it, but he also had Matrangas sign the thing because we had, and then we got a Lincoln that was made into a chop. We got a Plymouth over there. We got Mercury's. We got shoe boxes over there, and even a LaSalle over here.
Right. Now this is all. Now that one, as I understand, was your work.
Yeah, this one here, we did some of the work on. It's been sectioned for 112 inches. So that's the depth of how far that we can show us work on. And look at the Pontiac over there, and there's another Merc. And
all with the Barris influence. Now, I want to get back to that question and follow up. I did not know that. How can I say this? I didn't know you were that involved with the movie industry as far as having the challenge presented to you and coming up with all these technical solutions. I thought you just built the cars that looked nice and they figured out how to make it work.
No, we had to be the guys that made it work.
You made it work.
Yeah,
wow.
Even to when we did all the things in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, on into the 80s when we did Knight Rider, Dukes of Hazzard, A-Team and all that. But let's talk to the young kids today on the block. Fast and Furious, tuner cars, imports, we did those cars.
Did you really?
Oh, that shows you what we did in Fast and Furious 1 and 2. Fast and Furious 3, which is the Tokyo drifting, has been shot in Japan because that's where drifting started. So between the drag racing and drifting, the movie industry from way back in the 50s have followed cars through very much, and even another new movie coming out by John Lasseter, which is called Pixar and Disney, called Cars.
Yes.
And it is we are absolutely duplicating the cars as Lasseter designed for that in the comedy, and also of course it's a cartoon.
You sound like, and I've made this statement so many times, I personally don't care if it's a 50 Merc with a flathead, or if it's a Camaro, or if it's a Subaru 300 horsepower all-wheel drive car. I like all of it, and it strikes me. Yeah. I didn't know you did the work on the drifter movies and all that. Yeah. It strikes me you also like. You don't care.
Yeah, we like the car culture is everybody.
Right, you like all of the cars.
Yeah, rat rods. Whether my son's got a rat rod, my daughter's got a Cobra Mustang, and I drive in a Magnum. My grandson's driving a hot LL SUV. We just love cars. But one of the things that's important to many of your viewers and listeners, the reason why we are able to communicate like this is because of people like you. We're able to talk to the masses because you make it available for us, and people don't understand it until finally they see us on the air, whether it's a reality show with
Cable has been wonderful,
or McGuire's with his Car Crazy, and that's what makes it important, because now we can talk to everybody, just like Peterson when he brought out Hot Rod Magazine in 1948.
That had the motorsport community talking within itself, and what the cable industry has done has got us talking to the general public, and I think it's great. Yeah. And by the way, folks, the more times I talk to George Barris, and I think this is about the third time, I realize how lucky the motorsport community is to have him.
George Barris is an icon in motorsports and a great guy. Now, back to winter. When Bill got up the next morning, he discovered it snowed overnight. And, well, watch.
Well, guess what, folks? It's the next day, and I can't believe it. We actually had a couple inches of snow overnight. I mean, this is sort of a revelation in the Chicagoland area after 20 years of poor winters. And to be quite honest, this winter started out to be absolutely terrible. I think New Year's Eve was like 53 degrees, and Christmas it was 50 degrees and all that. And all of a sudden here toward, this is now February 12th. Yes, yesterday was the 11th, qualifying for the Daytona 500, 2007. Today is the 12th, and I was stunned yesterday when I found that the chain of lakes is completely frozen solid, just like it used to be 20 years ago, and it's sort of a super highway for snowmobiles now. Very, very cool. Overnight, we get a couple of inches, and I don't know if the audience can see it right now. There's a little bit of snowflakes in the air, so guess what? I cannot resist. I've got to go back up again and get a little bit more riding in, and of course, I want to take you along with me. Now, there was also another piece that I wanted to shoot yesterday, and we'll see when I get back up there again if I get too enthused about riding, but there was another piece I wanted to shoot, and I had to make a decision because I was running out of light, and I said, should I shoot that piece, or should I go riding? Well, I went riding, so I want to go back up and shoot that piece that I didn't shoot yesterday. And there was one other thing I wanted to do. I wanted to talk just a little bit more about this backup camera that I'm so enthusiastic about, and the variety of ways it can be used. Of course, I should say that the design from the manufacturer is it's supposed to be a backup camera. In fact, the camera itself Actually, here, I went and dumped it in the snow. Apparently, I don't care that much about it. This thing originally had some like about 4-inch ears on each side of it, plastic ears, and it's designed to go onto your license plate, where your license plate bolt on. Of course, for the van, it doesn't really work out that way because of the spare tire and the way it is, and the license plate in the center of the spare tire. Anyhow, it just doesn't work, so I had to modify it for my use. But there's other ways to use it. I already explained about hooking it into the boat's lighting system, or for that matter, the snowmobile trailer lighting system, any 12-volt source, just to give it power, but it's wireless to the monitor. And I already explained that part of it that way, but there's another way to do it. These are the batteries. This is the battery that we use for powering our DSX Sony camera, the big Sony camera that we use on location. And it's a 12-volt battery, and it's the kind of battery that's used in most emergency lighting systems for factories and warehouses and all that. Very inexpensive, less than $20 for one of these batteries. Well, if you notice, there's an end on this thing that matches the end that I have on the camera. So by plugging this in, I can duct tape it on here if I wanted to. Any place I wanted to, I can take and set this camera. For example, let's say I didn't want it to be moving with the trailer or the boat when I'm backing in, that I wanted to set it in the corner of the driveway. Right now, what's on here, what's on this camera, powered wirelessly to the monitor, is being picked up on the monitor inside the van. Another way to make it easier to back the trailer up into tight spaces and all that. This is very, very cool. I'm very high on this. Anyway, reason I'm back here is that my enjoyment of snowmobile isn't just riding around. I kind of felt like maybe one of the carburetors yesterday, I've got a triple 3-cylinder, and I thought one of the carburetors, one of the idle passages was probably plugged. So before I go, I want to pull the carbs, clean the idle passages, and then head back up to the chain of lakes again, and hopefully you'll come along with me.
What Bill isn't telling you is how sore he is from yesterday. On the other hand, you have to go snowmobiling when there is snow, and in this area, it could be gone in a couple of days. He's not taking any chances. He's going.
I'm back at Captain Kurtz. I said Captain Jack's yesterday. My apologies. It's Captain Kurtz. And once again, we're using their parking lot. And I certainly appreciate the fact that they are snowmobile friendly. And it's okay to park here and go off on the chain and go snowmobiling. One thing I want to point out, if you can't see it already, since yesterday, or last night I actually should say, there's been about 4 or 5 inches of snow. I know that we had a couple of inches of snow down in the Chicago area, but boy, up here they've got 4 or 5 more inches of snow. So I have no idea what it's going to be out there. It was perfect yesterday. If anything, I presume it's going to be better. Now, I said that I wanted to, and by the way, I took the carburetors apart, cleaned them and all that. I'm not convinced that there's anything dirty in there or not. And for the technical people, I'm not going to try to explain this right now. For the technical people out there that understand 2-cycle engines and know what I'm talking about, when I bought this thing, the fellow I got it from said the thing had been piped and picked, meaning it had expansion chambers on it and picks on the track. They took them off. Eventually, they took the picks off and they took the expansion chambers off. My suspicion is that it was also ported. I don't think it was just picked and piped. I think it was ported, picked, and piped. And when the season's over, I'm going to pull a cylinder head off and see if it is ported. If it's ported, I'm sort of chasing my tail here, trying to get the thing to idle as nicely as I would like it to idle. If it is ported, then that certainly explains why I have a problem getting it to idle. I won't explain all this for the technical guys. You guys will know what I'm talking about. If it's radically ported, it's not really going to idle that well, but I will tell you something. It rips, which makes me kind of think maybe the thing has been ported because the thing really, really cooks. In any event, I told you I had another piece that I wanted to shoot that I didn't shoot yesterday because, quite frankly, I wanted to get out and ride. So I came back here because I want to shoot that piece and I want to ride again. But I wanted to shoot the piece that I was talking about. And this, once again, has something to do, again, with the aging thing that I keep talking about. And I hate to keep hammering away at that, but one of the things that I like about public access television is that you're listening to a person talk. This is a person's show. This isn't a corporation show. And it is people talking to people. And I'm 63 years old now, and I've made no secret about that over the years that I started doing this program. I was just a little bit over 40, and now I'm 63 years old. And things do change as you get older. And I kind of like the idea we can talk to each other because I personally don't think that males talk to each other enough about this, is about what they're supposed to feel like as they get older. I can tell you myself that probably the thing I like the least about getting older is the constant pain. And I kind of presumed that everybody suffers from this as they get older. I mean, every joint aches, the muscles ache and all that. And I guess I've seen older people when they walk, and they walk kind of hunched over. I assume this is the reason why. And a funny story, I'm talking to my pharmacist just about this, and I know him for several years, and I know him to be the same age as me. And just in the course of conversation, I said to him, well, you know how it is, as we get older, everything hurts. And he looked at me and he said, well, what are you talking about? Nothing hurts on me. And I kind of thought he was just bravado or something. He was sort of busting my chops a little bit. I says, come on, you got to be kidding. I said, when you get up in the morning, it's not difficult to walk for the first couple of hours or anything. He says, no. And he actually convinced me. He was actually serious. So as soon as I got home, I got on the phone to Doc Joe, or to his receptionist, and made an appointment to go in and see Doc Joe, because in my own mind I said, this guy's a pharmacist. He's got access to drugs that I don't. There's got to be a reason why he's feeling good, and I want to get access to this. So I made the appointment, went to see Doc Joe, and Doc Joe listened to my little story that I just told you, and he said, he looked at me, and I said to him, well, Doc Joe, he's the same age as I am. He doesn't hurt. I hurt. What's he got that I don't have? Doc Joe looks at me and says, Bill, have you lost your mind? You've crashed at everything from 5 miles an hour to 105 miles an hour. You've been operated on several times for injuries in motorcycle racing accidents. You've had broken bones. Of course, he says, this guy probably spent his life going to college and filling prescriptions. Of course he doesn't hurt. And I told Doc Joe, well, Doc, I understand that, and I thought about all that, but the way I see it is that when you injure yourself, well, that's fine. It takes a couple of weeks to heal, or a couple of months to heal, or in the case of the very serious injuries I had, I was laid up for a year and a half. But once you're done, you're done. You're healed, and you should be fine. Doc looked at me and he says, Bill, doesn't work that way. The fact of the matter is, every time you shock your joints, you plant the seeds for arthritis in later life, and you have shocked every joint in your body many times violently. It shouldn't surprise you that you hurt. Okay, so I've now accepted the fact that apparently that's just going to be life for me, that I'm going to hurt, and I'm paying for the sins of my youth. No complaints. I've had a wonderful life. I've enjoyed everything I've done, but I guess this is just the price you have to pay for it. So, what am I telling you all this for? Reason being is that you have a couple choices then when you get to be older like I am. If you've got half a brain, you don't do this stuff anymore. You don't go running around on snowmobiles in the middle of the night up at the chain of lakes, and you don't go riding motorcycles all over the country and all that. You sort of relax and get comfortable and kind of let your aching body enjoy itself a little bit. Well, that's not for me. I love this stuff. I thoroughly enjoy doing all of this kind of stuff. So then what am I going to do? If I'm not going to take and relax and I'm going to actually go out and do this stuff, well, I'm a technical guy. I'm a hot rider like everybody else. That means I've got to come up with technical solutions to these problems. And here's one of the solutions. Very often when you start up a sled and you want to warm it up and you want to, you're working on tuning it out, you want to clean it out, you've got to rev it hard enough where the track engages. You can't just rev a snowmobile engine in neutral. There is no neutral. If you're going to really rev it up, you've got to let the track spin. Well, as a young man, I would just grab the back of the sled, lift it up, stick a jack stand underneath it, rev it up, and like that. Well, I can tell you that I'd be sleeping on the floor or on a backboard for 3 days if I did that anymore today. I just can't do it anymore. So I said to myself, I got to come up with a solution for that. I think I come up with something pretty clever. One of the swap meets I went to this year, in fact, I think it was one of Joe Billell's up in Lake County Fairgrounds, the Skips Reunion, Skips swap meets. I looked for a bumper jack, and I found a bumper jack, and here's what I put together. I got rid of the base for it, and I just took the top part of it, and if you'll notice down here, I welded a piece onto the back of the trailer that will accept this, so that I go and I put this down in here like this, and grab the handle, and this saves my back. Pretty clever, huh? I'm actually pretty proud of this, and I want to show it to you because maybe this will save somebody else's back. So, instead of lifting it with my back and hurting my back, something like this, no sweat. So I guess what I'm saying is, as we get older, if we want to continue doing all this crazy stuff, and I certainly do, then we've got to come up with some mechanical solutions to these problems because our body can't take it anymore. And here's my solution to lifting the back of the sled.
Pretty clever, and I guess between the backup camera saving him a fair amount of effort and the jack to lift the back of the sled, he makes it possible to continue these activities even at age 63. Of course, he could just stop doing this stuff. Nah, That's not the way he thinks. Hey, let's see how well his idea works.
Goes without saying, you have to make sure the sled is properly restrained before you try this. Bill locks the skis to the trailer. It works very well and saves his back. Well, that's it. We're out of time with only enough left to acknowledge the fine work of our award-winning production team, including Tom McGrady, Rena Borwitz, Sue Casanda, May Chin, our webmaster, Frank Barbalace. Special thanks to JBTV's Jerry Bryant. Music is created for us by independent artists Roger Pauley and Jerry Herbert. Of course, we have to take a moment to thank the stars of this edition of Motorsports Unlimited. Janine Lashot, Patty Borwitz, and our host, Bill Wildt. Me, I'm Samantha Bentley, and if you're wondering why we didn't show you some riding footage from the second day, it's because with the addition of 5 inches of snow, the riding conditions were just too much fun, and Bill wanted to enjoy it. Use your imagination. He stayed pretty much in the same area. There was just a lot more snow. Bill said it was great. Thanks for watching. See you next week.
This program made possible in part by support from Bridgestone Firestone and your local Bridgestone Firestone tire retailers.
This program made possible in part by support from Copy That, located in the County Farm Plaza at County Farm Road and Army Trail Road in Carroll Stream, Illinois. This program made possible in part by support from PB Food Products, located on 47th Street at Western Avenue in Chicago, Illinois.
Motorsports Unlimited is produced by Bill Wildt, president of the Motorsport Advancement Crusade.
This program made possible in part by support from J.C. Whitney & Company, located just off I-80 at the Utica exit in LaSalle, Illinois.
This program made possible in part by support from Jimmy's Red Hots, located on Grant Avenue and Pulaski Road in Chicago.
This program made possible in part by support from the Chicagoland Toys for Tots Motorcycle Parade, held on Western Avenue in Chicago, the first Sunday in December.
This program made possible in part by support from ABC Auto Parts, located on Ashland Avenue at 138th Street in Blue Island, Illinois.
Motorsports Unlimited was created to raise public consciousness, understanding, and appreciation of the motorsport community and their activities. You can contact us by email at msutv.com, or you can write to Motorsport, P.O. Box 66242, Chicago, Illinois, 60666. We enjoy hearing from our audience. Please let us know what you think.
Heat number 2 is on the line and ready, and here we go. Car number 17, jumping out of the lead. That's Mark Stemmen from Jonesville.
Next week on Motorsports Unlimited, we're going to remind you the racing season is just around the corner. By the time you see this, it'll be time to put the sleds away and get the race cars ready. All next week on Motorsports Unlimited.
And I am embarrassed to tell you that I do not have a name for that 96.
So that's it, another edition of Motorsports Unlimited and the lovely ladies of motorsports. And be with us next week because we'll have something real exciting. Bill Wildt's going to have the lovely ladies, and just about anything can happen right here on Motorsports Unlimited. Every week at this time, we bring you the best in motorsports. So be seeing ya. Bye-bye. And keep on rocking.